Hi everyone, welcome to this live event covering everything you need to know about using HubSpot for commerce. Now, some of you might not know too much about HubSpot Commerce Hub, but it's been quietly evolving in the background and really now offers some real enhanced tools and features to address your business's commerce needs. So, to help us understand how Commerce Hub can be used for business payments and e-commerce processes, I'm really pleased to be joined by Allison Bosse, who's Commerce Hub product specialist at HubSpot. So great to have you here, Allison. And you've had quite an interesting journey at HubSpot, which, it's quite fascinating, starting as a customer success manager and moving a little bit through there, and now find yourself in this commerce product role as a product specialist for the past year or so. It'd be great just to get a bit of background into your journey at HubSpot and particularly that pivot that you made.
Yeah. Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me, Dan. My name's Allison. I started HubSpot 5 years ago now, and I started on our customer success team. So I spent my first really 4 years here working with our SMB customers. So anyone using the HubSpot platform, we talked all things strategy about all the different hubs. After that time, I moved over to our Commerce Hub team. So this was about a year ago now when we were getting ready to launch Commerce Hub at Inbound and really to kind of get some humans to help with our commerce process. If you've noticed, commerce is kind of a quieter hub. It's not like the other HubSpot hubs that you see. That's not as flashy, I would say. So moved over to that team to really specialize in the commerce tools and help people get started.
And as a product specialist, are you more customer facing?
Yeah, really good question. So we kind of have two mandates, I would say. One is customer facing, help people get up and running, take their use case and bring it into HubSpot, connected to the whole platform, but really that like billing commerce process. And then we also work directly with our product managers. So the product managers who work on Commerce Hub to talk about what feature requests are we hearing, what are kind of those roadblocks and the gaps that we're not solving for, and then being able to implement that feedback we're hearing into Commerce Hub.
Amazing. Yeah. And you were kind of saying before, it's a fairly new role, which I think is,
Yeah.
a really crucial role actually at
Yeah, it's
HubSpot.
been a lot of fun and really great to bring that customer voice and that feedback directly to the product managers. They definitely talk with customers too, but we're talking with probably throughout my team, 20 to 30 customers a day using Commerce Hub.
Wow.
So a lot of great insight there.
Yeah. And I think it's worth saying before we get into it, if anybody does want to talk to you and your team,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah. You have access to Commerce Hub, but sometimes you just need to chat through the use case and see how the tools fit. So we are happy to do that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Let's dive into things. But just before we actually get along and into it, if you do have any questions about Commerce Hub, how it fits with the HubSpot ecosystem, any particular use cases, literally any question about Commerce Hub, we couldn't have anyone better here really to answer those. So please do pop them in the comments section on LinkedIn below, and we'll pick those up probably at the end if we have time. So, Allison, I suppose to just get us started and give us a kind of scope of this conversation, understanding where Commerce Hub actually fits into HubSpot would be really interesting. Like, what was the strategic vision behind Commerce Hub? And now, where does it really fit into that ecosystem of products?
Yeah, great. So Commerce Hub was really built from this pain point we kept hearing of disjointed or too many billing systems. So we saw that the average company was using 4 or 5 different tools just to complete the billing process. So where that really kind of took over was post sales, winning a deal or closing a deal, then the need to bill for that deal. That was all taking place outside of HubSpot in a bunch of different tools. And then none of that data was coming back into HubSpot. So sales team would sell a deal. We would see that deal, but then maybe like the customer success team say, couldn't really see what was purchased, couldn't see if they were still an active customer. All of that data was kind of lost because there was no transfer going back. So Commerce Hub was really born to bring the commerce data and your billing data into the CRM. So alongside your sales, marketing, service teams is now that billing, that commerce data. That's where we kind of like developed Commerce Hub. And then I would say the problem and kind of the solution we're seeing is being able to help people save time of just moving that process into HubSpot, less systems, less logging in, less clicks at the end of the day. It also helps to increase your revenue, being able to bill directly, not miss out on any of that revenue, recurring subscriptions, things like that. And just not having another team involved too helps to really save some time there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's a couple of others. Like they're great advantages. The first things that I would list for sure are those time-saving elements, the complexities of having to manage different softwares and getting people up to speed of those potential data issues when it comes to kind of accessing and maintaining data between different systems. But the bridge that Commerce Hub gaps between offline and online sales as well is a really interesting one that you don't see with many other products, actually.
Yeah, and that's where we talk about kind of like increasing your revenue too, being able to offer or have a solution for touchless sales. So, we support really well that rep assisted sale, that normal deal process that we see. Can definitely do that in Commerce Hub, but where kind of that magic comes from, I would say, is those online sales. So that kind of touchless, maybe you have a less expensive product that doesn't need a traditional sales process. People can find it on your website and purchase directly. Saves you time, saves kind of manpower in your team, but then also allows for those like kind of organic touchless sales, all done through HubSpot.
Yeah. And from a data and reporting standpoint, as a marketer, we love data, we love reporting, we love proving our worth, in this universe. Having all of this data at your fingertips is so useful and brilliant to really prove if something's working and
Yeah,
just to get insights from things.
definitely.
Cool. Okay. And now we kind of understand where it fits. Just in a quick nutshell, or a longer nutshell if you need it, can you explain just exactly what Commerce Hub is? And actually, as an extension to that, how it differs to an e-commerce platform.
Yeah, really good question. So Commerce Hub ties directly to your CRM and it helps handle all of your billing. So post sale, needing to get paid, Commerce Hub at the baseline, Commerce Hub helps you get paid, helps you collect those collect money from your customers for those goods that you have sold there. So how it fits in with all your other tools is really well. It fits into the whole platform. It is HubSpot. It's built on HubSpot. So we're creating some commerce objects for you there.
And in terms of the difference
Oh,
between
right, the
Commerce Hub
difference. Yeah, so
and the
I would say the
e-commerce
biggest
platform.
difference is it helps with both. So those kind of online and offline sales, so rep assisted sales or touchless sales. So a traditional kind of e-commerce system is more of just like your online store. Possible with Commerce Hub as well, but we also have those tools for those more traditional sales processes.
Yeah, got you. And we'll get into all of those, the nitty-gritty details of all of those. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's cool. It's definitely not an e-commerce platform. Like it has more uses and different use cases, I think, right?
for sure.
And well, let's actually touch on those. That like what types of businesses or industries or customers do you see benefiting most from Commerce Hub and why?
Yeah, really good question. So, sweet spot is kind of the small to mid-sized businesses. We can work with any size. That's just kind of what we've seen has been the best use case. Types of industries we see B2B being probably our largest, and then high consideration B2C businesses. We see a lot of digital goods being sold. So we talk about online sales, things like content or even your time. If you're a consultant, selling your time has been something we've seen a lot of. And then one time purchases, recurring subscriptions, memberships, we see a lot too. And I would say some industries that come to mind in terms of kind of like the biggest adopters we've seen are professional services. So things like consultants and agency work, and then nonprofits too. We have a lot of
Mm.
nonprofits taking advantage of it for donations. And yeah, those are probably kind of the biggest ones coming to mind.
So in terms of like that B2C split,
Mhm.
is Commerce Hub generally not a good fit for those businesses based on just different needs, right?
It's a good question. So we definitely have B2C customers using it. I would say
Okay.
where Commerce Hub isn't as good as your traditional e-commerce or isn't the best fit is really when we're getting into things like inventory tracking, shipping, and just kind of that quantity based goods. Better off probably with an e-commerce solution for that. Definitely chat with us though if you're unsure, because there could be solutions that we have. But that's kind of the difference between like a traditional e-commerce and Commerce Hub.
Cool. And on the enterprise side of things, is that more of a volume thing? Like, where are the kind of limits if the sweet spot is SMEs?
Yeah, really good question. So enterprise is something that we're definitely hopefully solving for this year or early next year. I'll say enterprise customers that we've talked with have a lot more complex development needs. And so peek at the roadmap, we're really focused on building a full suite of commerce APIs. And that's going to be something that I think will open the door for a lot more customization with the Commerce Hub and allow for bigger corporations to be able to get more value. So coming soon. And if you're interested in stuff like that and want to make sure that feedback and your use case is heard, send it our way. We're super curious on those.
Yeah, love that. Okay. I'm sure we'll see case studies and all sorts coming out very soon.
Yeah, my team's really focused right now and would love to know if this is helpful too for some feedback on developing use cases. So I think it's easy to talk about Commerce Hub in terms of the features, but also seeing your use case represented is super easy to follow and give some inspiration of what can be done.
Yeah, awesome. We'll try and get some of those.
Yeah.
In terms of then, I guess, what is actually possible with Commerce Hub in terms of the features and things available, will you be, happy to give us a quick demo on some of those key features?
Yeah, let's walk through this.
Cool. Yeah. It'd be great just to see them live and in action, how everything kind of works together in platform, everything like that.
Yeah, and I will say, like I mentioned, Commerce Hub is quite different from our other hubs here, where it just got added to the navigation. So I'll show that first if you haven't seen it. We have a new Commerce Nav item here. So everything lives within the Commerce Hub within this tab. Depending on what HubSpot subscription you have, everyone should have access to Commerce Hub. So just to call that out, it's available in all of our tiers. And it's different from our other hubs. You don't pay a monthly subscription fee for it. You pay your transaction fees. So whether you're connecting with the Stripe payment processor, if you're outside of the US, or HubSpot payments, if you're located in the US, you select your processor, you pay processing fees for each transaction, and then a platform fee for HubSpot. But it's based on your transaction, not based on, the first of the month, say. So commerce lives in the nav. This is our commerce homepage. So your home base to get set up, connect your bank account so we can pay you, things like that. If we look at this, there's a couple different ways to get paid. So step one is that processor, but then step two is to actually get paid, set up your channels. So three main ways I want to talk about: payment links, invoices, and quotes. A payment link is what we use for those kind of touchless sales. We were talking about those online sales. Payment links are super dynamic. They can be embedded in your website. They can live behind a form. They can live behind a HubSpot meeting link. So maybe you want to charge for that half-hour meeting booking. You create a meeting link, and then that final step is to add a payment link button, and people can pay you. So I want to show you some functionality with this. Payment links and all of these commerce tools pull from your product library. So if you have different products living in your product library, you can easily add those to any of these channels for people to purchase. I set up this one just to show all the different things that are possible within a payment link. This is our checkout page. A checkout page is how somebody pays you. So they have their payment options of card, a local payment method, so bank transfer. So in the US, that's ACH, but different places that could be SEPA or BACS or PADS. Here was what they're purchasing. So you can have a one-time payment. So just they're paying you for this one time today. You can collect recurring payments. This creates subscriptions in HubSpot. This is great for kind of monthly payments or ongoing payments. Recurring payments and recurring line items can be set for a certain amount of a certain length of time. So 12 months for an annual contract, or they can just be automatically renewed until canceled. So something that's just kind of an evergreen subscription there.
Before we move on, just a couple of questions on those. in terms of setting up the payment link where you showed the line items, do they have to be listed in products in HubSpot, or can you customize what's in there?
You have both options. So you can pull from your product library or you can create a custom line item. What I'll say here, when we think about reporting, so if we think a couple steps down the line, pulling from your product library helps with reporting because we can report on how many times a certain line item was purchased or what that revenue was for that line item this month, say. So that's what's helpful with reporting. You can also customize these line items once they're added. So they're already in your product library, but you can go in and make any changes here or even add a discount as well. So sales reps still have that flexibility to customize these products to the person purchasing, but we still have that functionality to report on it.
Cool. And I'm assuming you can manage currencies, tax. How does tax work actually?
Good question. So yes, you can manage currencies. This portal is enabled for US only, but if I had other currencies, this would be a drop down. And there's 20 different currencies that you can collect through these payment methods or payment channels. Taxes is something that's really top of mind for our product team. So a couple different ways right now, and I'm not sure if this portal is enabled with it, but you're able to add line item taxes and you can have tax rates available. So you can import the different tax rates that you have. You can add it to the line items. You can also add an overall, tax rate here, or things like a discount or a fee can also be added here. So line item taxes is a big one that we rolled out, I think within the last month or so, to really solve for taxes. And then taxes are also a big thing on our roadmap as well for more automatic tax functionality coming.
Awesome. And sorry, just another one on the payment page itself. How customizable is that page at the moment in terms of look, feel, layout, like the form itself, the contact info section?
Good question. So all of the branding will pull from your brand kit in HubSpot. So colors, logo, that will be from all of your defaults already set in your account branding. The form here, so by default, we're going to collect their email address to help with the association so you can see it across HubSpot based on who purchases. But you can really ask for any information in that form. So it works like a typical HubSpot form where you can add different contact or company properties that you want to collect. You can also put a payment link behind a form. So if you already have a form in HubSpot that's super customized or has a lot of questions, it might be better to have that form and then have it go to the payment link instead of making this form too long. Really preference, right? We don't want to ever make our forms deter people from purchasing. Same thing works with this checkout page. So you can put the payment link behind the form or add additional details here to collect at the time of purchase.
Awesome.
Yeah. And they'll show a few other things on this page too, just when we talk about touchless sales, quantity. So you're able to have your buyers select different quantities and that updates the price that they're being charged. So that's a big one we see when we talk about purchasing on a website. If you're selling something like seats for your software or seats for your in-person event or your virtual webinar, whatever that looks like, you can have people select the quantity there. Same with open amount. Different use case here. You don't always want to give somebody the option to just pay whatever they want. But when we talked about nonprofits being a big use case, a donation is something where you do want them to have flexibility of what they want to donate. So this allows you to set an open amount that buyers can pay what they want. And then the other thing I just want to show too is this add-on. So this is something we see as an optional product is the functionality in HubSpot, but pretty much it's an add-on where you can have a bunch of different options listed here and you can add them to your checkout or remove them if you don't want them. Super helpful if you're selling, your normal software package and then you want to have a couple different a la carte options. That add-on really helps to deliver kind of upsell opportunity right at the time of checkout without really talking to anyone.
Yeah, cool, awesome. And just to clarify on this, a payment link is literally as it says, right? It is a payment link, which can be used anywhere. It doesn't have to be behind a meeting, behind a form. It can be on any website, really, in any email, literally used anywhere.
Anywhere. Yep. It could be, we've seen even somebody that will use it as a link when they go to, it was a pool company. So they were building pools. So they were servicing your pool and they would have an iPad there, click on the link and pay. So could really be used anywhere. Emails, website, sending it one off to somebody, all can tie back to that payment link.
Yeah. And I assume you don't need a website hosted on HubSpot to be able to do this, because the payment link isn't hosted on your website, right? It's hosted via HubSpot.
Yeah. And you can, if you do have a HubSpot website, you can embed it onto your website with I think it's a CMS module. But then if you have a website not hosted by HubSpot, there's also ways to embed it, just grabbing the code and then putting that on your site as well.
Cool. Yeah. Powerful
Yeah.
stuff.
Really, they could be used anywhere. Payment links are probably my favorite just because of the versatility.
Just so flexible, right?
Yeah.
Like in almost any situation, grab a payment link, take payment there and then.
Yeah. And when we talk about kind of speed and saving time, again, a payment link is super quick to set up and immediately allows you to collect that payment.
Yeah. And especially if you already have products inside of HubSpot, I mean, wow, this is an absolute game changer and a time saver for sure.
Yeah. And then one thing to call it too is payment links can be checked out multiple times. So if you were creating a custom one for one customer, you can turn it on for one-time use. So that means that once I purchase, Dan, you can't purchase from it. But without this enabled, anyone can purchase from it. So that's why it can live on your website and just take checkouts without it ever having a problem.
Yeah. Awesome. Didn't know that feature was there. That's great.
I think that covers payment links. The only other thing to just talk about is what they're paying. So if there is a recurring payment, we will display that for them. So they'll see, what's due today and then what that future schedule would look like. Depending on what payment method they do, whether it's card or a bank transfer, we will charge that payment method that was used on that schedule. So if this is a monthly payment, that will be charged. We'll create a subscription in HubSpot and they will be charged monthly in this case for that.
Cool.
And I can jump into subscriptions and kind of what that looks like.
Hmm.
So this is a subscription page in HubSpot. This looks like hopefully your contact page or your deal page, your company page. It's just an index page here showing you all of your subscriptions.
Very familiar.
Yeah, should. And then what this looks like too on a contact level, just so you can see how these association work. So this is a ongoing charge after they checked out of Commerce Hub. This object was created automatically. If we look at Emily, Emily's on my team, so she probably has a ton of data in here. But you will see the different subscriptions they have. So a subscription record is super powerful because you can see not only that it's active. So this is great when we talk about support teams or success teams trying to manage current customers. They can see the status of the subscription here. You can also see things like the next billing date and what they're being billed for, that payment amount. And if we click into the subscription, there's even more. You can see, how many times they've paid you. So how many months have been completed, how many remain if there's an end date. So this is great for things like renewal management or reporting and forecasting. And then within a subscription, we also have some actions. So if you ever need to edit the subscription, this could be like an upgrade or a downgrade. You can do so. You can also push out the next billing date. And if anyone's familiar with subscriptions, this is a new action being added, but you're able to pause it as well. And then hopefully you don't have too many of these, but if you do need to cancel the subscription, you can do that too. So subscriptions, like I mentioned, automatically created once a recurring line item is purchased from a payment link or a quote, and they follow throughout HubSpot for association. So contact, company, and even deal if a deal was created too.
Cool. Does the person themselves have any control over their subscriptions, or is it more of the case of making a request to deal with it?
Right now, it's more making a request. So future state, we would love to see your end customers be able to have control over their subscriptions. Right now, they'd have to request that. We see, including an email on your page to do that, or a lot of people have done a form. So request to cancel, fill out this form, notify who you need to notify internally to go in and actually cancel it.
Yeah, cool. Got ya. But good to hear that's being looked into? Because I can imagine that's
Definitely.
a bit of a request. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. We talk to people and a lot want that. And then a couple are like, I don't want my customers to always just be able to cancel without talking to me. So we want to give you both controls there, depending on your needs.
Yeah, having the option is
Yeah.
probably the best port of call. And I assume so subscriptions then is an object inside of HubSpot. So
Yep.
when it comes to reporting and things like that, you can do cross-object reporting, pulling in subscriptions with all of your other different objects, which I can imagine
Exactly.
is pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah. Subscriptions are an object. And then while we're on this page too, I'll show you payments are also an object. I don't know where they live here. Here they are. So anytime somebody pays you, we also create a payment record. So if somebody is on a 12-month contract, they're going to pay you 12 times. You'll see one subscription and then 12 payment records. So a payment object and record represents a transaction. The subscription represents that kind of whole contract and all those payments.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so familiar and intuitive being
Yeah.
displayed this way. Just classic HubSpot, really.
Classic
Everything's
HubSpot,
familiar.
yeah.
Everything's easy to use. This is just classic HubSpot.
And give people the data, your internal teams, where they're living. Does sales need this? Are they tracking down, failed payments or people who are behind on their subscription? Is that customer success? Is that support? Is that the CEO? Because you're a lean team, doesn't matter who it is, but you have the data where you need it to really help and not have to, jump in and out of different systems.
Cool.
I'll show a few other things. So we talked about subscriptions, payment links. Quotes are something that if you've been using HubSpot for a while, you're probably familiar with. They were around long before the Commerce Hub was. We've now made quotes payable. So you're able to still complete your normal quoting process if you want to, and then send an invoice or send a payment link. But if you want somebody to sign and pay directly from the quote, you have full access to that as well. So same thing here. We're still pulling from the same product library or creating custom line items to actually build that quote. And then I wanted to show you payment schedules here. So within a quote, you can have somebody pay for the full quote. This is, all due at once, or if this was monthly, subscriptions would come up, same thing. But you're able to create a payment schedule. So what's really cool about a payment schedule is we see a lot of the need for taking a deposit today. And then depending on what you're billing for, there might be a different schedule of how those payments are received. You can do both milestone payments. So that could be something like once the website is built, website completion here, or you can have the payments due at a certain date. So this could be at, the end of 6 months, we're billing them for the remaining amount, which in this case is $5,000. What a payment schedule allows you to do is to break up these line items and this total here of, I think, $35,000 into those different installments. What this looks like on your quote, and this is super blurry, so apologies here, but you would see kind of the total for the project, so the total of what you're purchasing, but then also what that schedule looks like. So deposit is due now, and then the others are due at a certain time. You can enable, like I said, this for payment. So now we have a button that says make the first payment of that $500 for that deposit. And then what will happen here? So you send the quote, you get that first deposit paid. Within your deal, I'll make this a little bit bigger. You're going to now see a payment schedule. So you'll see that this deal has been paid the deposit and that we still have a payment to another invoice due at the end of July in this case. Functionally, what this looks like is you would see, this is a different example, but you would see that deposit and that payment made. You would see that quote that was paid to initiate this payment schedule, live on the deal. And then you would also see that draft invoice for the remaining amount. So what HubSpot does is once that quote is purchased, the payment is taken, then the draft invoice or invoices, depending on how many installments, are created for you to then send out upon either that date or that milestone being hit.
Cool, got you. And can any of that be automated?
Coming, yes, that's a big project. So right now we're automatically creating these invoices, but then you have to send them out at that time or out on that date. But yeah, lots of automation functionality coming to help with this to really make sure you're not missing any payments and getting paid on time.
Cool. Yeah, sounds great.
Well, we're looking at invoices too. So invoices are the last kind of channel to get paid. We talked about getting paid through quotes, getting paid through payment links. Invoices are really kind of probably what everyone's most familiar with of how you get paid today is sending those out. Similar to subscriptions, you have an invoice index page here. So you can see all of your invoices, but invoices are always going to be tied to that contact, that company as well. You can create an invoice from this page. I'll say creating an invoice from here is your most manual option because then you have to fill out all this information of, once we load here, who the contact is, the company, all of that. I'll say kind of the most common way we see that is from a deal. So chances are you're working out of a deal. You've already associated a contact, a company maybe. Maybe you've added some line items towards it just based on conversations. And chances are you might even have a deal here as well. So the easiest way right now to create an invoice is really just converting this deal to the invoice itself. What this does is it pulls in all those associations that we know about. So it knows that I'm the contact, that I work at HubSpot. And then this was the line item already associated with that quote. So it's going to pull it in. From here, all you would really need to do if no other changes are needed is just finalize. So it's like 3 clicks to create this invoice and bill Allison in this example. Obviously, any changes can be made if we want to change the due date or the line item or the discounting. But this is how you would create and then send out that invoice. And I can open up an invoice just to show you what these look like here. Dan, to get ahead of a question I think you might have, invoices, templates are not really able to be customized right now. We're going to pull in your branding, but the actual look and feel itself is something that isn't able to be customized. If you have feedback on that, let us know of what you would want to see for customizations because it's something that we are looking at. But this is what your invoice looks like. A pay now button is going to take you to something very familiar. It's going to look like a payment link, and it's just going to pull in the line item from that invoice and allow you to purchase it.
Yeah. It would be great to see invoices flexible in the way that quotes are now.
Yes, we hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Quotes, you can really determine what you want them to look like, what information you want presented. So I can see invoices moving in that similar direction.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And one thing that I just realized that I should have asked as well, when it comes to taking payments via anything, actually, I suppose invoice is a bit different because it would be attached to a deal, no doubt. I assume you can still create invoices not part of a deal, but payments in general, if you create a payment, how does that then sync with a pipeline in deals? Do you have to enable that? Can you say, if I've taken payment, move this deal or create a deal and closed one or something like that?
Yeah, a couple different ways. So a payment link directly can be used to create a deal. So if this is especially helpful if you're selling from your website, you probably don't already have a deal open because you're not aware that I'm going to come and purchase from you. So you can have any checkout will create a new deal and you can specify what pipeline, what stage. Super helpful for reporting and just overall organization and data there. For something like a quote or an invoice, chances are you're already working out of a deal. So that way the payment would just be associated with that. And then you can trigger automation based on the payment to move that deal or to complete any other actions you need. If none of that happens and you know that Emily paid you, but it never got associated, you can manually associate payments. So if there is like a missing one out here, like maybe it's this one, you can add it to any deal just so you have that record. Yeah. But chances are throughout the different payment method channels, you'll be able to already have that association work without that.
Yeah, love it. The connected nature is very, very useful, I think, for businesses.
And since you mentioned it too, automation is a big thing. So there's natural automation built in, like creating subscriptions automatically when a recurring line item is purchased. But within workflows, you also have these new commerce objects as workflow types. So sorry, Demo Portal has a ton of data in here, so it's a bit slow to load, but we have different workflow types added. So, you're used to your normal company contact deal-based workflows, but now you can have subscription-based ones. So looking at things like next payment date or end date, payment-based workflows. So really, when did I
Any
receive a
property.
payment?
Yeah.
Any property, what should happen then? Quote-based and then invoice-based as well. So whatever you want based on the status, maybe it's a failed payment or an overdue invoice, you can trigger who should be notified and what next steps should be taken. This is super helpful with handoffs internally, right? So knowing when something gets paid, so that way onboarding can start. We don't want any lag time there, and we don't want to have to wait for our accounting team to tell us and send us an email, like too many people and systems involved. So really use workflows to help streamline it internally, so your teams are all aligned, but also make it a great customer experience. They purchase something, what should happen next on their end?
Yeah, and I've seen cart-based in there.
Yeah,
Is
so
that anything to
cart-based,
do with Commerce Hub?
that has to do with e-commerce integration. So if you have something like Shopify enabled, and then you have more cart-based workflow options too.
So in terms of how like Commerce Hub handles things like abandoned cart and other types of e-commerce type emails, I assume that's not quite there yet, or
Yeah, that would be more, the cart functionality is definitely more for those e-commerce integrations.
yeah. Cool, got ya.
And then since we got on kind of automation and just overall, commerce data is a big thing. So we were looking at the actual subscription and payment objects on the contact records themselves. Those can also be used for things like lists. So creating a list of your current customers that you want to send emails to. Just typical, marketing activities, commerce data can still help power those. And then reporting too. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about reporting. We talked about a little bit how line items help you to report, but once you start processing payments through HubSpot, we have this out of the box gross payment revenue dashboard that will start pre-filling based on that information. To show you things like your revenue coming in, you can break it down by, how many paying customers you have this month. You can take a look at your split between one-time payments or recurring payments to help you get an understanding of where that revenue is coming from. You can break it down by rep. So if we want to look at, not only what we're forecasting in our deals, but also what's actually getting paid, we can see that. And then here's more of that line item reporting I was talking about. So really, obviously, we have very messy naming conventions. So this is your warning to name your products better in your actual portal. But yeah, you can really report on, what products are driving a lot of sales, how many for that month, that quarter, that time period there. And this is a pre-built dashboard, but all of this can be used in custom reporting as well. So really what you need to see for your revenue reporting, you can have access to with those cross objects.
Yeah, and I think it's worth saying, like, a lot of the time, this kind of data and accessing this data will only be possible in account systems or order processing systems and things like that. They can be quite clunky at times, not intuitive to use. Like, bringing this all into one platform where businesses will already be used to creating reports inside of HubSpot for their pipeline, for their marketing, for other areas of the business. It's intuitive to use and probably quite simple and easy to get set up with, especially if you're already using HubSpot.
Yeah, it's nothing new. If you're used to HubSpot, it's just creating reports, it's just associating objects. So it really should help with kind of that learning curve or user adoption, because it's just now the data's at your fingertips and able to be used in ways you are already doing.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, I think those are really the main things. We talked about it, so I'll show it quickly, but outside of this dashboard, we also have subscription reports. So those are pulling directly from those subscription objects as well. So being able to look at things like new subscriptions coming in, different churn of those canceled subscriptions, I don't know if there's tons of data in here to show it, but definitely take a look
Yeah.
at these. If you're running a subscription-based business, these will help you too.
Cool. Amazing. Right. If there's nothing else to share, I'll pull that back down because there's a burning question in my mind now.
Yeah.
Let me just get rid of that. So, e-commerce and HubSpot, like as a predominantly website focused HubSpot agency, it's one of the things that we come across quite a lot, like e-commerce capabilities inside of HubSpot and what can be done natively, what needs an integration, and just kind of all the ins and outs of what is possible. Now, can you use Commerce Hub to power an e-commerce store, and to what extent is that and is that not possible?
Yeah, it's a good question. Short answer is yes. Long answer is really depends on your requirements. So the ability to create kind of a store-based functionality is possible, right? If we look at a product could be represented by a payment link. So you could have just, different payment links created, purchase that product. When we get into more complex use cases like tracking inventory, only being able to sell 100 of this item, that's going to be something that there is some custom work that could be done to help with Commerce Hub, but there are e-commerce functionalities that have all that built in out of the box. So really just depends on the use case and the different requirements there. But for basic e-commerce use cases, you could definitely use Commerce Hub to power that.
Yeah. So like the inner workings of that, I suppose, would be using Content Hub with like using Content Hub to actually power your store, maybe
Yes.
HubDB, like with dynamic pages for products or whatever. Oh, you could actually then put payment links in the HubDB table, power products using that.
Yeah. If you have Operations Hub, you can send a webhook there to your store to let them know that an order has come in, really get that commerce data out of HubSpot to power kind of those next steps. So the power of HubSpot can definitely help with that. Especially somebody like you, Dan, who understands HubDB, because there's a lot of people I talk to who do not. But yeah, there's definitely options.
Yeah. So are you seeing people use that kind of combination already?
Yeah. And that's what's nice about Commerce Hub is because it's all in HubSpot, all the objects are there. You can use, Content Hub and the different modules. They can be used in emails too. So really wherever you are selling, you can add that and kind of make it work.
Cool. Okay. So just to clarify, when should you be looking at an integration with HubSpot? So like say you're an existing HubSpot customer. A lot of B2B businesses tend to then have like a side store or something for
Yeah.
consumables or something for their business. When should they actually look at an integration like Shopify or BigCommerce?
Yeah. I'd say probably the two biggest roadblocks or gaps are the inventory tracking and then shipping and automatic tax calculation. So if you need to calculate shipping or calculate tax based on a location somebody's in, that's where a true e-commerce integration is going to be better for the time being. If we're doing, basic e-commerce and shipping and tax calculation isn't already a headache, then we could probably figure it out with Commerce Hub.
Yeah. And I assume from a members perspective, that's kind of covered now in like private member areas. You could enable them to just purchase stuff.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of the membership content and membership functionality can be powered by payments coming in. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and vice versa. You could enable a members only area, put payment links on there because we love payment links. They're
Yep.
flexible.
Definitely.
Awesome. Okay, we've kind of spoken about some of the potential roadblocks that you might face with Commerce Hub. Just to double check, are there any limits when it comes to commerce capability? The amount of payment links you can create, the amount of payments you can actually take, the amount of quotes, just so, businesses have an understanding of any potential restrictions there?
Yeah, really good question. So there's no true limits in the sense of there's not like your e-signature limit or anything like that. I'll say the single transaction limits are probably the only limit you're going to encounter. And what that means is for credit card payments, they cannot be more than $250,000. So for a single transaction, and for a bank transfer, that is $100,000. So if you're selling a good that's over that or a service that's over that, we see people break it up into 2 invoices or 2 payment links to combat that. That's probably the only limit in place. Otherwise, you have access to process as many payments as you want or create as many payment links, as many invoices as you need to.
Cool. And is the fee, well, can we actually just touch on those 2 fees? So
Yeah.
you've got HubSpot Payments and Stripe, 2 different fees. Is that just a flat fee? Like it doesn't vary depending on how much usage you have?
Correct. Yep. So it's just a flat fee for, depending on your processor, you'll have your transaction fees, so the actual processing fees for credit card, and then for your local bank transfer. So those vary based on HubSpot Payments or Stripe. So whatever fees you have with that, that would be your processing fee. Then there's a platform fee as well for the transaction, but it's just per transaction. It's not anything monthly or on top of that.
Yeah.
If you
And
don't
just to
transact in that
clarify,
month, you don't pay anything for Commerce Hub. So it's really just based on that processing volume.
yeah, cool. And just to clarify on those payment processes there, like one of the things we were kind of chatting about before is the misconception about HubSpot being able to take payments now in more countries other than the US, because
Yeah.
payments was launched just for US only. The HubSpot payment processor is, US only, but with Stripe, anybody can, well,
Anyone
are there
can
restrictions on countries or?
almost anyone can connect a
Yeah.
Stripe account, and you can collect payments in 20 different currencies. So yeah, HubSpot, the Commerce Hub is available for almost everyone. And if you're confused if it's you or not, let us know and we can help make sure.
Cool. Got ya. Okay. If you don't mind, I've just got some quick fire questions. We had a few like on email before this as well went live. Some of them I feel like we've covered already. They're just very kind of quick. But if we could go over a few of them, that would be fantastic. How much is Commerce Hub? I think covered.
I think so. Yeah. And I can bring up the screen share again. You have a breakdown of the fees as well. So this would live in your overview here and then in your settings. If you haven't connected HubSpot Payments, you'll see a big Learn More, Connect Here button, and that will bring up the different fees based on the options that are available in your area. So you'll get a full picture of what it costs per transaction. There's no monthly fee, but yeah, definitely head to your payment settings to see that. If you already have it connected, you can view what your fees are on this actions button.
Cool. And are they going to be the same fees for everyone?
They should be. Yep. Just depends on what processor you connect, but otherwise they should be the same.
Cool. Okay. Just to clarify, what are those? Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll pull it up here just so we can look at it so this is for HubSpot Payments. So this is for US. It's a 2.9% for credit card. It's a 0.5% of the transaction for ACH, those bank transfers. That's capped at $10 per transaction. The platform fee for this account is $0. It's a test account, but it's a 0.5% of the transaction. For Stripe, it's your agreed on Stripe rates for these two. Typically, it's pretty similar to the 2.9% and the 0.5%. Could vary though, so check with Stripe on that. And then there's a 0.75% transaction fee for the platform fee.
Cool. Awesome. Let me bring that back down. Another one for you. Is Commerce Hub specifically just for people already using HubSpot, or can it be utilized as a standalone product?
It's a good question. So it can definitely be utilized as a standalone product. The power that we've talked about, though, is connecting it to all other aspects of your work stream. So your sales team, your marketing team, your support or services team there. So while you can definitely have payment links on your website and just process payments through HubSpot, that can work. But yeah, you'd want to be able to report on it and see that data. So using it for more than just commerce is definitely where you're going to get the most value.
Could you almost have like a free CRM/payment taker for you? Because I suppose when you think about it, the CRM is free.
Yeah.
Commerce Hub is free to set up.
To
Obviously,
set
you've
up.
got the payment fees, but there's no upfront fee.
Right.
Are there any restrictions in terms of what product levels or tiers you need to be able to use Commerce Hub? Or
Yeah, so Commerce Hub itself is available for all tiers, and with the Stripe processor, it is available for free accounts as well. The only restrictions you'd start getting into are automation. Automation, just our workflows tool, requires a Pro Plus subscription, and then custom reporting as well. So, other than that, the commerce tools themselves are all available, especially to start setting up and testing before you even transact for free.
amazing. The other two we got were just about shipping, which I think you covered, and currencies, which, yeah, I think 20 different currencies, was it?
20 different currencies. Yep. And when you go to connect, there's a list of what those 20 are that you can look at just to make sure yours is included. We have a team still working on adding additional ones and additional local payment methods, so additional bank and wire transfers. So keep an eye out and let us know if there's one that you really need that you're not seeing, because we are going to keep expanding in that area.
Cool. Yeah. And then shipping, I suppose, like the use case for HubSpot Commerce Hub isn't necessarily to manage, huge, widespread, automatically calculated shipping costs and things like that, not so much physical goods. But if you actually wanted to, you could put a line item in there for shipping, right?
Yep. Yeah. There's definitely ways to accomplish it. Like I said, it's not the easiest out of the box to just set up today, but chat with us because we're interested in your use case, and we can let you know what work would be needed.
Yeah, it sounds like there's definitely a lot of good ways round that you can get. Like, it might be a little bit more manual than you might like in some cases, but
Yeah.
if you really wanted to use Commerce Hub, I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so just to wrap us up, kind of one last thing, if you are able to share any kind of exciting developments, the roadmap for Commerce Hub over the next few months and things like that, like
Yeah.
what's coming?
Definitely. So I mentioned this a bit when we were chatting. So some big focus areas for us are taxes. So we want to continue to make taxes possible and easier in the CRM. I would say some other ones, and a big one that's rolling out, it's in beta right now. So definitely enroll yourself if you're interested, is being able to bill for subscriptions. So like I said, subscriptions are automatically created, but we're doing a lot of work to make this even easier to make your CRM HubSpot your true billing destination. So being able to send out recurring invoices, adding in that automation, like we talked about, those payment schedules, to not have to have those manual tasks. So more automation functionality, more subscription billing functionality. That's coming, and that's really exciting for this year. And then I will say another one, we didn't touch on it too much here, but accounting integration. So you'll still have something like a QuickBooks or a Xero to manage your full kind of accounting processes, and that's where your team will most likely still be living. We just rolled out our new improved two-way sync QuickBooks integration. So that's in a beta right now if you want access to that. And other ones coming are Xero as well. So keep an eye out there just so we can really keep these systems connected. Everything can live in HubSpot, but we don't necessarily need everyone living in HubSpot if they don't need to. So we still need a way to get that data places. So that's where we're focused. I would say taxes, automation, subscription billing, and accounting integrations are the big ones.
Amazing. Just a clarifying question on those account integrations, because obviously there are integrations right now with the CRM when it comes to Xero, other accounting software, things like that. Is this a development on those integrations,
Yes. Yeah.
or
We're
not a
improving
new
those.
integration?
Yeah. We're improving them. A lot of them right now are pushing data from Xero or from QuickBooks into HubSpot. So now we're making those two-way. So that way invoices created in HubSpot can now be synced over to your accounting integrations.
Amazing. Cool. I think, yeah, we can start to wrap up. I suppose if anybody does have any questions for you or your team, what are the best ways to reach you?
Yeah. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. We also have a team email. So it's just commerceteam@hubspot.com. So that's great just for sending use cases, feature requests, feedback, or wanting to meet with us, we can definitely send over a link to book some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just to kind of wrap things up, I think Commerce Hub, it brings such a unique opportunity to businesses to unify all of this software and these systems in one place that I don't really think has been seen before. And the growth and the potential of the platform and the product is really, really fantastic. And if I just think about where it was when it was kind of originally being talked about to some of the features that are coming in and in development now, it is really, really exciting. And I'm fully expecting more businesses to start using it.
Yeah, we're really excited. And I think Commerce Hub is something, I mean, you can hear we're really busy working on the functionality, but I think there's a lot of value to be had. And even if it's something where you just want to test it out, you're not sure you're ready to bring all of your billing into HubSpot, throw a payment link on your website, have a content download that's payable, or a meeting that you charge for consulting. Try it out, open up a new revenue stream there and just see how it works, how that data is reflected, and then start bringing more over. I think it's a good way to kind of get your feet wet.
Yeah, cool, for sure. Right, I think that's a great point to end. So let's wrap it up there. And hopefully you enjoyed this discussion about Commerce Hub. Be sure to follow the Blend LinkedIn page to join any future live events about HubSpot, about websites, anything like that. And shoot Allison or her team a email or a DM on LinkedIn for any questions about Commerce Hub. But yeah, thanks for tuning in and we'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.